In the previous episode, I shared with you some hack and slash games that I felt were obscure. You know, the games that usually very few people remember or have not played in the first place. Well, today I am making a follow-up to that video with more obscure games. When the first Devil May Cry was released on the PS2, it took everyone by surprise. Within just a few months, developers everywhere were racing to compete with Capcom's juggernaut. Some of these competitors tried to expand on the genre by introducing new mechanics and gameplay improvements. And then there were the budget titles, games that tried to bring something new to the table but failed. One of those games is Swords of Destiny. It's not exactly terrible, but it's forgettable. The story is your typical hero saves the girl from the clutches of evil setup. He's the chosen one and can hack and slash through demons with ease. The graphics are fine for a budget title and the combat is serviceable, though it gets repetitive if you don't make use of the game's main techniques. The music is okay too, but I guess you'll forget about any of them once the game's credits roll anyway. And while that's tolerable, the voice acting is absolutely not. It feels like the actors hate their jobs or something. Even the Japanese dub falls flat. So do I recommend this game? Yes and no. If you're looking for tight combat mechanics or something fresh, skip it. But if you don't mind playing through flawed games just for the experience, give it a shot. Honestly, I'd still pick this game over some of the other games I've covered, like the Uchimusha or the Ona Okapichi Toremonocho. Another hack and slash disaster I stumbled upon is Buccaneer. It's part of the Simpus series lineup by D3 publisher. When I first saw the box art a few years ago, I was expecting at least a decent pirate game, but what I got was a complete mess. The first mess is the camera. You can't control it, so you're constantly missing enemies, a lot of them. Then there's the combat. In most games, combo strings are really simple. Square, square, triangle, done, right? But in Buccaneer, you're forced to wait a few split seconds between each button press, miss the rhythm, and the combo just doesn't register. The game isn't particularly hard, and to its credit, it's short. You can finish it under 2 hours. But even by budget Musou standards, Buccaneer has no real redeeming qualities. It's just bland, boring, and forgettable. Legend of K is one of those games that many tend to overlook, brushing it off as just another kid-friendly platformer. And while that's technically true, what most people don't realize is just how tight the combat actually is. You've got a solid arsenal of 3 weapons, a handful of devastating attacks, and a combat system that's surprisingly fun and easy to master. I like to think of it as one of the few Devil May Cry inspired platformers out there. Sure, there's Kaya Dark Lineage which borrows cues from other beat'em-ups, but if you really dig around, there aren't many 3D platformers quite like Legend of K. The visuals still hold up surprisingly well, especially for a 2-decade-old game, and the music is just fantastic. Honestly, this is a good game. Whenever people talk about superhero games, they usually write them off as trash or disappointing. And yeah, a lot of them are just cash grabs, but every now and then you stumble upon a genuinely decent one. One of those is Ghost Rider. I originally played it 15 years ago and recently gave it another shot, and you know what? It still holds up surprisingly well for a licensed title. The only thing that annoyed me was how certain enemies can break your combo streak. Super frustrating when you're trying to keep the momentum going. The drive-in sequences in this game are absolute gold. They're easily one of the game's highlights. I always wished we'd get another Ghost Rider game that expanded on this. Driving around, blasting demons, slicing and dicing like a man on fire. Ghost Rider isn't mind-blowing, but it's not bad either. It's just a fun, no frills action game that's perfect when you want to blow off some steam. Here's a hidden gem on the PS2. It's flawed, but I still think it's better than the 2007 Conan game by THQ. This one offers an original take on the franchise with a new story, new characters, and a generally fun gameplay system, though it does get a bit annoying near the end. You play as the legendary barbarian himself, Conan, who returns home only to find his village massacred by an evil cult. With vengeance in his heart, he sets out to uncover the truth. Most of the game has you traveling from one location to another, cutting down waves of enemies, from regular soldiers to monsters and even ghosts. Nothing stands in Conan's way. Surprisingly, the combat system still holds up well, even after all these years. That said, the same can't be said about the jumping mechanics. The platforming segments in Conan the Dark Axe are very rough. Still, if you can look past that, there's a lot to enjoy here. The soundtrack is solid and the story, while simple, kept me engaged. I really wish they had made a follow-up to this version of Conan instead of the 2007 game. That one didn't live up to expectations. Now here are two fantastic hack and slash beat 'em up games you have to try. A lot of people tend to sleep on this franchise mainly because at first glance it doesn't operate like Devil May Cry or God of War, and that's exactly what makes it stand out. The Mark of Kree handles combat in a completely different way. It's not about fast combos or flashy moves, it's about patience. Much like Up Escape, the right joystick is your main tool. You rotate the stick to assign symbols to nearby enemies. Let's say X, square, and circle if 3 opponents surround you. That way, instead of mashing buttons, you must actually think about your next move. Simply spamming buttons and hoping to win will get you nowhere, as this game has an AI that adapts to your attacks. So, surprise them. This system encourages you not to only learn a different style of combat, but to be strategic and patient with it. Visually, the art direction is fascinating, stylized but immersive. The atmosphere pulls you in, the stealth mechanics add a nice layer of depth, and the brutal combat complete with all the gore makes it unforgettable. The sequel, Rise of the Kasai, builds on everything the first game established. It introduces 3 new playable characters and a host of new combos to master, while it's a bit easier than the original. Don't expect a walk in the park. You'll still need to learn and adapt to the unique combat system if you want to make it through. Before you roll your eyes and say, "Ugh, another movie game," hear me out. Eragon isn't exactly the brightest beer in the fridge, but that doesn't mean you should toss a cold one without at least taking a sip. It may not be top shelf material, but for a licensed title it's surprisingly enjoyable, although this plays strangely similar to the Lord of the Rings and Demon's Stone games. Sure, it's not on the same level as the more robust hack and slash games out there, and yeah, it gets repetitive quick. I won't pretend otherwise. Still, I had fun with it. The game follows the plot of the movie, putting you in control of a farm boy named Eragon who gets swept into a much bigger conflict. As fate would have it, he must train to take down the evil king Galbatorix, who rules the land with an iron fist. The combat is as simple as it gets, nothing groundbreaking, but it gets the job done. The music is serviceable, and the visuals on the PS2 range from pretty decent to okay, that's enough, I can't look at this anymore. I'd only recommend this one if you're into games like Forgotten Realms, Demon's Stone, or Knights of the Temple, Infernal Crusade. They all share a familiar gameplay. Don't you miss how every game used to look and feel different from the next? These days, most games blur together, or worse, you get yet another Souls-like that looks just like everything else. Samurai Western is a spin-off from the Way of the Samurai franchise, and honestly, it's a breath of fresh air. Unlike the mainline entries, this one lets you go wild, slashing and dashing your way through enemies without having to worry about your katana breaking every 5 minutes. You play as a lone samurai who ends up in the Old West, not to share a touching reunion with his brother, but to kill him. The game starts off easy as most do, but the difficulty ramps up pretty quickly. The real challenge lies, and dodging bullets and staying alive. Sounds simple, but it's definitely not. There's an RPG system in place. You can upgrade your stats, equip new weapons, and even change your outfit. But none of that is going to help you if you suck at the game.
If you just continue to press the same button like X, 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 and Y, 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 and X, X, and Y, Y, Y again, you'll be sucked.
What we have here is easily one of the worst hack and slash games you'll ever play. It's called Deadly Strike, originally known as Sengoku vs Gendai, before it was ported by none other than Midas. And let's be honest, when you see the name Midas slapped on a box cover, you know exactly what you're in for: disappointment and mostly anger. It's part of Midas' usual package. Deadly Strike is just plain awful. There's nothing redeeming here. Repetitive combat, gunshots that run out too fast, dull and uninspired level design, and music so forgettable you'll wonder if it was even there. For some reason, enemies hit like trucks too. You can go down in just 3 hits, which makes no sense. It does have a co-op mode though, so you can drag someone else down with you and share the suffering. Honestly, I'm not even sure if anyone out there has managed to finish it. I sure couldn't. But anyway, Deadly Strike is terrible, and I don't recommend it. Sayuki Saruden climbed the tree so Wukong could eat the banana or something like that. I've seen people refer to this as Wukong before Wukong, and I completely disagree. Some called it an obscure hidden gem. I also disagree. This feels more like something you'd flush down the toilet than a hidden gem. It's repetitive, annoying, and just flat out boring. At its core, it plays like a mini Musou game where you face waves of mindless enemies, but the real issue lies in the mission structure. You're stuck escorting a girl on a horseback, and you must protect her at all costs. The problem is that she refuses to move until you go find a specific statue or hidden item somewhere. Once you find it, you must return all the way back to her, and then she decides to move. The game isn't difficult, enemies are cannon fodder, and the princess is not easy to kill either. You can heal her with L1, though it has a cooldown, so it's not like you can keep spamming that repeatedly. Still, the pacing is so sluggish and the objectives are so repetitive that it becomes a chore before you even hit the halfway point. Honestly, skip this one, but if you do decide to play it, be ready to be bored.